Now that Nepal's deadly protests are over, the South Asian nation can start the process of rebuilding. The Gen Z demonstrations managed to oust KP Sharma Oli's allegedly corrupt government and install an interim prime minister of their choice. But with Sushila Karki as the caretaker leader, what's next for the nation? Firstly, the general mood of the young protesters has been less violent and more welcoming.
हामीलाई लाग्छ कि सायद सुनौलो दिन अब सुरु भयो. अब we are very excited. सबभन्दा पहिला यो कि अब जुन पहिलो महिला न्यायाधीश हुनुहुन्थ्यो त्यही नै हाम्रो देशको पहिलो प्रधानमन्त्री बन्नुभयो.
Sushila Karki, the 73-year-old former Chief Justice, has been tasked with restoring order and addressing protesters' demands for a corruption-free future. One of the first actions taken by Karki was to declare all those who died in the protests martyrs. She announced a relief of 1 million rupees for the families of each victim. At least 72 people were killed in 2 days of protests and 191 injured. The second major update coming from Kathmandu reinforced the protesters' calls for Nepal to remain a true democracy. The interim government announced that fresh voting will be held in early March to elect a new government. The president had earlier dissolved the 275-seat parliament. Calm also appears to have been restored. Restrictions announced during the protests were lifted soon after Karki took office, simmering tensions on the streets. A curfew in the national capital has also been called off. But Nepal's armed forces still roam sensitive areas where non-government officials are not allowed. But the Gen Z protesters reportedly still have issues which they hope to resolve in the elections next year. At the top of their list was the lack of employment, which has driven millions to seek work in other countries across the Middle East and Southeast Asia. Once the protests died down, President Paudel said late Saturday that a peaceful solution has been found through a difficult process and hoped for sustained peace in Nepal.